Well, there's a few things to consider here. No, it's not too late, is the first answer, right? Obviously not. I mean, I've met women in their 80s who had new boyfriends. You only need one, right? This is what you have to remember. You actually don't need that many. You just need one. Well, except... So you only need one. But so the most important thing is, what is it that you actually want, right? And that the definition of that is where you have to spend a bit of time on, because when you kind of come to a relationship and you're like, ready to rock and roll, it's easy to behave as if you're coming to a relationship in your 20s or early 30s, right, where you think it has to be a certain way and it follows a certain trajectory. That's a trajectory designed for, let's say, marriage and children and cohabitation and fulfilling society's debt, so to speak, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. On the contrary, right, for some people that is what they want to do and they do it. But at the place where you are, that might not be all there is, right? Because I would bet that you probably wouldn't just roll up all your stuff and move in with a guy. Exactly, right? And you're not gonna just ride off in the sunset with a guy who says how it is. You have a life, you have likes and dislikes, you have friends, you have independence. So investments, exactly, thank you, there's that, right? So with all of that said, you have to kind of reimagine what does a relationship with you look like, and what does a relationship that you want look like. That's the first thing, right? Is you have to kind of go, who am I these days? If somebody's dating me, what do they get? The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And then you go, whom do I want to date? What kind of relationship do I want to have? Is it every day, live together, get married, buy a Winnebago and drive through Arizona in matching sweatpants or sweatsuits? Like how you sometimes see those couples who have these embroidered terry cloth suits. Yes, it is terrifying, but it's also quite sweet, because it has a dedication to it, right? But it is terrifying, but it's also very sweet. And that's probably not what you want. Or maybe that is what you want. The only reason they're gonna calm the fuck down is if they understand that you're not about to trap them in yet another round of some crazy shit that they've just gone through, right? And so what that means is you state your intentions clearly, you communicate cleanly, you don't pull emotional blackmail, hissy fits, tantrums, manipulative tactics, and all the things that we all know how to do. You just don't do that, and you instead state your intentions clearly. Then if they can't do that, then they're not for you, right? But very often they are also still stuck in some, and you know this better than I do, but I see it in my office all the time. When a guy's been with one woman for 30 years or 40 years, he's got some bad patterns. Bad patterns, like all that yes dear and whatever, all that shit that happens when guys resign themselves, right? When they're so browbeaten, essentially, that they just go along, but they have like the seething resentment underneath, and there's some infidelity or some business trip gone wrong or whatever the hell, right? Like all of those tropes and stereotypes happen because there's bad relational patterns. So now he's out of that, and he has no precedent of how it could be different. And so when you date a guy like that, you have to be unapologetically and brutally different. And if he can shift out of whatever story he's in, then great. And if not, then move on. It's a matter of essentially really streamlining your mission, so to speak, your mission statement of relationship, and also get really clear on what you have to offer and what you don't have to offer. Like, you don't want to listen to a guy every evening drone on about how the ex-wife has taken the money and the children and alienated the family and whatever, right? That's not doable, and you're not up for that. That's unless you get paid and you're a therapist. Not automatically. You can be generous and kind and everything, but there has to be a line in the sand. And you need to know what is the line in the sand. Yeah. And you should date multiple guys at the same time. Yes, good. You should. Yeah. Because you don't have any time to waste. And I mean, not to the point where you're in a serious relationship with one and you're deceiving the others or something, but you should date multiple guys. You should be out there, and you should take every coffee date and every dinner date and every drinks date and every tour of the golf club or whatever the hell people do up where you live, visit the wolves, and check them out and give them a few tries, so to speak. And if they can hang, great, then you give them a little bit more. And if they can't, you move on because you don't have the time. Your feeling of being attacked is an appropriate feeling because it's a fight or flight response that he has, which of course will cause a fight or flight response in you. So the feeling of the anxiety produces, which is the exact same mechanism as fight or flight, right? It's the mechanism for fight or flight, right? Will make you go, oh shit, right? And so you're either now also trying to fight or trying to flee. But at the very least, you're going to feel like there's something wrong because this is your partner and your nervous system and his nervous system are somewhat synced. And so if he goes into high anxiety, you are either going to think that any moment now you're going to have to fight something because you're in danger, or you're going to feel like you are in danger. Right? So that's all very normal. And you can't make that go away, right? Because your nervous system... Yes. Well, you can't make it go away unless he is able to regulate it, right? In the sense that that's a normal reaction. And to say to your system, don't react when there's danger is ridiculous, right? It doesn't matter if it's real danger or perceived danger, it's danger. And so in your nervous system, any danger needs to be taken serious or you die potentially. So, it's a little bit like saying to a fish, don't need water, right? So the way to work with it is to work with it and not against it. And so working with it would be, when he gets that anxious, that you do something that allows you to essentially harness that energy. And so what that would be, you'll have to figure out. And this is something you have to agree on, right? So for instance, if he starts getting too overwhelmed and there's too much going on, maybe the thing to do is put music on and dance together with the whole family, right? Maybe the thing is to go on a nice long walk or run or chop some wood or, whatever. But where you go, okay, let's use this energy, right? It's there. How can we use it? Can we do something creative with it? Can we do something physical with it? Can we use it to focus on something? Because that's what it is. It's a zzzt, and so you can't stem the tide. You have to essentially do something useful with the tide. Yeah, and you agree with him on that and say, look, when I feel that it's getting too much, I'm going to put some music on and we're going to dance it out for that moment. We can deal with what's underneath later, and I'm here for you and whatever, but, we got to do something with that energy. And have good playlists, right? And then you have to just be immediate. So instead of going, oh my God, here we go again, you essentially go, oh, here comes the tide, let's open the channel, right? And then you let that tide spill into something. You could also have certain tasks that, you agree on beforehand that he can do to channel that energy, whatever that is. But it's typically much better when you embrace it as just a surge of energy that you can all benefit from, without pathologizing it.